If you have a question during the show, we want to hear. Your input is a big part of what makes the show successful, and we thrive on your energies and insights. Whether it's a quick comment, a thoughtful question, or an opinion you just have to share, please don't hesitate to drop it in the chat. And if you want to make absolutely sure your message stands out and gets featured on the show, there's an easy way to do that. Use the super chat feature. Just click the $ at the bottom of the chat box to send in your super chat. This guarantees that your super chat gets read on the air, and it's also a fantastic way to support our channel. We rely on your support to keep bringing you the sports content you love, and we appreciate every bit of it. So go ahead and let us know what you're thinking. Hit that super chat button, and thus keep the show as interactive and exciting as possible. And if you prefer, you can always go to the gsmcpodcast.net to tip, donate, and leave a comment or question there. We couldn't do what we do without your amazing support, and we're so thankful to have you as part of our community. We have to start off with the fallout from Vinicius Jr. not winning the Ballon d'Or. It's continuing. It's been a little dramatic, to say the least. The fallout has been. It's been very interesting to see how the press, how Real Madrid, how the whole outside world has been taking it. A lot of players dedicating full-on posts for Vinicius Jr., who they believe was aggrieved. Obviously, we know Real Madrid boycotting it. The shenanigans going on from there with Real Madrid, boycotting it, almost not accepting of the decision made by the French Football Association, L'Equipe, all that. And it's in my opinion, it's been a little dramatic, the extreme sort of reaction to this. And I thought it was a tight one entering. I just thought the momentum was heading towards Vinicius' way based on all the chit chat that was made post pre the Ballon d'Or. Seemed like it was Vinicius's, and it was wrapped up. That's what it sounded like. But I always, in the back of my mind, thought Rodri was more deserving if you saw what he did in his total play in terms of club and international football, was winning the European Championship with Spain. But there's definitely another side to my opinion when it comes to a lot of people feeling aggrieved at this Vinicius Jr. thing. Real Madrid protesting it, not being petty behavior. In my opinion, almost scandalous behavior, pretty ridiculous and pretty childish. And they have been called out by a lot of people for it. But when you're Real Madrid, when you're a club like Real Madrid, and if you had the greatness that they have had over the past couple of years, you can get away with nonsense like this. You can get away with protesting this award. You can get away with horrible sportsmanship, which it is. Look, this is not an award gone to Real Madrid, obviously, but it's still being a sore loser here because obviously they were highly invested in Vinicius winning this Ballon d'Or. They bought the rights for the Ballon d'Or so they can have it on their channel. They made a lot of effort assuming that Vinicius was going to win the Ballon d'Or. And in a moment, they heard it wasn't, and I guess it was an emotional reaction. Maybe it's not the fact that they just feel aggrieved that Vinicius didn't deserve the Ballon d'Or, but also the indications that they were given that he would. Maybe that aggrieved them as well. But again, it's shocking behavior and it's inexcusable. It's inexcusable when you look at from the club. Now, Vinicius, I think he might be the only person here that's not at fault at all. Because look, he hasn't came out and, said anything crazy. He had that one tweet. Apart from that, he's kind of been out of the shadow. So I think Vinicius Jr. is definitely there's nothing to give him any sort of slack over. Strictly when it comes to Vinicius, I don't believe there's anything that he's done that he's done that was wrong. In my opinion, in my humble opinion, um, it's everything around him, with all these players coming out with individual posts dedicated to him has even been robbed. Look, we want to break down Vinicius Jr.'s last season, okay? He had an excellent Champions League campaign for Real Madrid. Excellent Champions League campaign for Real Madrid last season. 10 goals and assist contributions in 10 games. 6 goals, 4 assists. Some important moments as well. You look at the two goals in the first leg against Bayern. You look at how he dominated that second leg against Bayern, especially in that second half. He was a man amongst boys in there. He scored the second goal in the Champions League final. He showed up in the biggest moments for Real Madrid in the Champions League, and that's really what puts him in this contention. He was brilliant, and there's no taking that away. You look at his 2023-2024 La Liga stats though. 26 games, he has 15 goals and 5 assists, 20 goal contributions in 26 games. That's a good season. For a winger, that's a really good season, right? But 20 goals in 26 games, it's not exactly Ballon d'Or caliber. And I have to say, last season in La Liga, yes, they won La Liga, and yes, you had a really good season. As a winger, scoring 15 goals is really, really good. But there was some games that he didn't show up. There was some inconsistencies with Vinicius Jr. throughout their La Liga campaign last season. There's no arguing that. There was, he showed up for the majority of the moments, but there was some periods where he was inconsistent. Now you compare that for Rodri, and when he plays for City, there's no inconsistencies. Game in, game out is 9 out of 10s at least. He's a player. I think he's 70 plus games unbeaten or something whenever he was playing, and that has something to do with it. On top of that, the big thing that that's one major thing that's in the favor of Rodri is the consistency game in, game out. The consistency game in, game out was Rodri. But the biggest thing, in my opinion, is the difference in performance and achievements on the international stage. Vinicius Jr. playing for the Brazilian national team at the Copa America. He was not there, quite frankly. Quite frankly, it's the story of his entire Brazilian national team career. Him not being there. Him not showing up for his country. That's just the God honest truth. That's just the God honest truth. He was not there. He was not there for his country. You look at the opening game of the Copa America against Costa Rica. He did not show up. He played his best game of the tournament, probably his best game in his Brazilian national team. In that second game against Paraguay, I have to say, I thought he was pretty good then. And then against Colombia, when they need to get some sort of result to avoid having to play Uruguay. They don't lay egg against Colombia. It finished 1-1, but again, Vinicius Jr. was not at that level. In fact, forget him even being at that level. He ended up getting a second yellow card that got him suspended in the in the quarterfinals, in which they got eliminated by Uruguay in penalties. So obviously, poor Copa America for Vinicius Jr. You look at Rodri, game in, game out. Important part of Spain, had some big moments too. That goal he scored against Georgia, he dictated the tempo, he composed the game. It was his first opportunity to lead Spain at that number 6 position at a major international tournament. Now with Busquets, this is the first tournament Spain are without Busquets, going all the way back to, I believe, probably 2010 World Cup or something of that sort. It's been a really, really long time, and it really tells the story of how important Rodri is for both his international team and his club team. He's a massive part of both teams. And I think that has a big factor in this decision. And this fallout to say that, you know, and even if you don't agree with what I'm saying and you don't think Rodri deserved it and you want to go with Vinny, okay, that's fine. But the fallout is more than beyond dramatic. This is not the biggest robbery we have ever seen. We've seen a way worse robberies. Not just in the Ballon d'Or, but just in general when it comes to awards. We've seen some pretty bad robberies. But this is the one, and a lot of it has to do with the fact that it's Real Madrid and they have a lot of pull. And they're just such a big club and have so many fans, and these sort of things happen when, as Real Madrid, they have so many fans that there's so many people to defend their player. But to act like this is a robbery, I think is more than extreme. More than extreme.